Welcome to the Genius Way Show with your host, Ben Hummell. The aim of this show is to provide education, encouragement, and insights for people who are on their own personal development journeys. As a psychotherapist, teacher, author, and creator of the Genius Way process, Ben will focus on identifying common challenges to living a purposeful life, and will share valuable psychological and spiritual tools to help you make healthy and empowering life changes. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey friends, welcome to the Genius Way Show. I'm your host, Ben Hummell. Today we're going to start out with a little story. Once there was a wise man wandering through a certain area of the world, and he came upon this little village. And as he was walking down one of the streets, maybe buying some food on his little journey or pilgrimage, there was a local that came out of his house. The local looked at this guy, and obviously the wise man was, on a journey, and he was a little bit dirty and, didn't look very, he wasn't very good to look at. Let's put it that way. And, he wasn't from around there and so forth. And so one of the locals was saying, "Hey, what are you doing here? Why don't you get out of here? Nobody knows you here." And the wise man looked up at him very gently and said, "Yeah, but I know myself. Isn't that better? What if the opposite were true? What if everybody knew me, but I didn't know myself?" Right? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. How to know yourself and the benefits of helping yourself and knowing how to help yourself on this journey that you're on, this personal development, self-awareness journey, which is, I assume why you're watching this show, because that's what this show is about. And so the greatest benefit is to learn how to be of service to yourself along the way. One of the biggest traps that people get into when they start this kind of journey, when they're on a personal development path, is to one of the dynamics is that when you're looking at yourself more deeply, you start to see things. You notice things that you may not have noticed before. You might notice, oh, there's a pattern that I have. There's a help that a problem that I have. There is this kind of barrier to me going any further. There's a limitation, and a lot of the things that you see when you start looking closely at yourself, you might not really like. And one of the biggest traps when we first start on this path, and it lasts for quite a while, is to criticize what we find about ourselves when we look more closely. Okay? And I'm going to have to say, this is a very rookie move. And again, I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying this is one of the first traps of looking deeply at yourself and criticizing what you find or judging what you find. So when you take a look at yourself, in order to change your life for the better, in order to kind of live your genius, in order to notice what your great qualities are that you were born with, in order to kind of be able to live your life in the most full and purposeful way, you're going to see things that have gotten in your way, like qualities of yourself and habits and old patterns, maybe even some traumas that have gotten in the way of you living your fullest life, living your purpose. Okay. And we want to see those things. We have to see them. We have to see the psychology that's sitting on top of our innate expression, our genius expression, right? We have a drive to express something very unique and very valuable in the world. Each person has it. And the reason that we don't do it, and the reason that we don't know how to get to it, is because usually there's layers and layers and layers of psychology piled on top of it. And you need to do some kind of work like this to remove that so you can get to that fund of expressive energy that you are as genius, right? As the genius that you have. So the rookie move is to look closely, see these patterns and go, man, you know, look at what I have. Well, I guess that's it. I'm just stuck. I have this pattern. I always do this. And you'll start to see, oh, wait a minute. There's a lot of negative self-talk. So one of the things that you find when you look closely, you'll find that there's a dialogue going on between at least two parts of ourselves, between at least two parts of yourself, right? And the dialogue is usually when you first look at it, a negative one. It's critical, it's judgmental, it's fault finding, it's defeatist, okay? And the trick is to not stop there, not just stop where you find this kind of dialogue where you're seeing everything in kind of a negative way, to put it simply, you know. And so the trick is when you find that negative dialogue that you're having, to be able to be your own best friend and change that around. Okay, so this wise man that was in this village, the guy comes out, the local comes out and says, "Get out of here! We don't know you here." And he's like, well, "I know myself," you know. And he's like, he could have taken that criticism and felt hurt. Oh wow, I thought I was going to be welcomed in this little town, and everybody's, you know, this guy's being nasty to me, and I haven't found a friend, and that, you know, poor me. What's wrong with me? You know, why, you know, I'm embarrassed because my clothes are dirty from my journey, or I don't speak the same language as they do, or whatever, right? So he could have taken that opportunity to say something negative about himself, to, you know, to engage in that negative inner dialogue, right? So instead, he's like, "No, I know myself, you know, and as myself, I am not going to take your vitriol. I'm not going to take your negativity and turn it against myself. Instead, I'm going to continue on my way, knowing that probably in the next village, I'll meet some friends that are not doing this. But I'm not going to use your crap to poison my own well," right? So he turned that whole thing into something positive, because, you know, after you see the initial, when you take that initial look and you see, oh, you know, there's this negative self-talk happening here. How can I help myself? Your whole life starts to become about that. But it's a hard one, because it's very, very easy to be critical of ourselves. It's very easy to judge ourselves. You know, there's this movie called Kingpin. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's maybe 20 years old by now. In it, there is Woody Harrelson is playing this. I guess he's a bowler, and they're in the bowling alley. And there's a scene with Woody Harrelson in the middle and two people on his other sides, and all three men are just sitting there having a drink, and just in silence. There's no dialogue. Then, just out of the blue, Woody Harrelson turns and goes to the guy next to him. He says, "Who are you calling a psycho?" And I always love that scene, because it's like, nobody called you a psycho, Woody. Nobody said that. That's in your head. That's what you're thinking. And you're imagining that is what's happening on the outside, right? And it's a very poignant little scene there. So I'm sure you guys can relate to that. And the trick is when you see that happening, you know, and I will guarantee you're doing that. As a therapist, someone who studied human psychology and spirituality, I guarantee you have internal self-talk, and for the most part of it, it's probably negative. Okay, so again, learning this positive self-talk is a very important and advanced skill to do, because you have to consistently catch yourself doing it and change it around every time, right? So before we get into this a little bit further, I want to show you a little video about positive self-talk. And then on the other side, we're going to come back and dig in a little bit deeper about, you know, how to help yourself on this inner journey that you're on.
Why do 80% of people struggle with self-doubt? Because they're listening to their inner critic. But what if you could turn that critic into your biggest cheerleader? Hey there, do you ever catch yourself thinking things like, I'm not good enough or I always mess up. That's your inner dialogue talking, and guess what? It's time for a makeover. We talk to ourselves every single day. Sometimes it's harsh and unforgiving, but here's the secret. You can flip the script. Positive self-talk isn't just feel-good fluff, it's a game changer. Imagine this. Instead of saying I can't do this, you say, I can handle this challenge. Or swap out I'm a failure with I'm learning and growing. Feels different, right? Science backs this up. Positive self-talk can boost your confidence, lower stress, and even improve your performance. It's like having your own personal motivational coach available 24/7. Start small. Catch those negative thoughts and consciously flip them. Be kind to yourself like you would to a friend. Practice makes perfect, and soon it becomes second nature. So next time you hear that inner critic, remember you have the power to change the conversation. Turn that critic into your biggest cheerleader and watch your life transform. You got this. Let's make positive self-talk your new superpower. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips on living your best life.
Yeah, so I have this conversation with my clients and my genius coaching clients all the time about that inner dialogue, about, how it's usually negative and how to get away from that critical self-talk and that critical judgment. So when I do some of my workshops, there's a exercise that I do where when we're in person, I hand everybody a mirror, like a little handheld mirror, and it's called a projective test. It's like whatever you look at, you are projecting something onto that thing. So, but first I do a Rorschach, an ink blot. I say, "What do you see here?" Then I hand them a mirror, and when they look at it, I ask them to describe the first thing that they see. And usually it's like, oh, I'm fatter than I want to be, or I'm too skinny, or I'm too old, or I'm too something. My hair looks terrible, whatever it is. And almost without a doubt, almost without exception, it's a negative thing, right? And so you see what you're up against. You see that there's a bias towards the negative somehow. We can get into that in another episode, but there's a bias towards the negative view of ourselves. So if you are on a path where you're trying to like uplift your life and up-level your life and kind of, live a more purposeful and fulfilling life, this whole negative bias has to be shifted around. It has to be changed around. There is no way that you're going to walk around, feeling happy about your life if in secret and in quiet, you are consistently criticizing yourself for this and that and everything, right? Because every day, usually all of us fall short of our goals. Every day, we might, cheat on what diet we want to have. Every day, we might not be as kind as we want to be to other people. We always fall short, right? And I'm not saying to make an excuse for that. I'm just saying instead of seeing it in a critical way, try and shift this self-talk around to like a way where you are encouraging yourself. So here's one way to do that. So one thing that I share with my clients a lot, which is kind of, they feel kind of surprised about, is when we talk about this dialogue, this inner dialogue that's always going on, that's usually negative, I encourage them to externalize that dialogue. And what I mean by that is literally say it out loud. Talk to yourself. Okay? Have this dialogue back and forth. So if it is like, you walk past the mirror and you're like, oh my God, you're such a fat pig. I can't believe you ate that whole pizza by yourself last night. What are you doing with yourself? Now nobody's going to love you. And you have this dialogue out loud. When you do that, when you externalize it, you now have power over the conversation. Okay? You can hear how absurd it is if you're calling yourself fat pig, or, if you're calling yourself, wow, you really let everyone down today because you didn't do your task. Whatever it is, whatever negative thing is being spun out of this web, To externalize it and actually shift it is the key. So how could you shift? Oh, I ate a whole pizza last night, and you messed up on your diet, and nobody's going to love you because you're fat and ugly. Okay, let's just pretend that's it. I'm just making something up. Not that I've ever done that, right? So, this negative self-talk, when you make it into something more encouraging, what can you do about the pizza and the weight? Okay, all right. So tomorrow, instead of eating my feelings, I am going to have this, this, and this for dinner, instead of going with the pizza as an unconscious way to make myself feel better, whatever it is. I speak like a therapist. So you shift the conversation out loud so that you give yourself encouragement. You shift it out loud so that you are being a friend to yourself instead of a critic. And this way you can guide that conversation. And a lot of my clients are like, whoa, that's kind of weird. I'm talking to myself. And, what I say to them is like, if you are talking externally to someone who's not there, like, an imaginary friend, or, Bacchus, the god of wine, or whatever it is, then we have a problem. Okay, it's not a problem to talk to yourself and encourage yourself. It helps you to see what you're thinking and what those kind of negative beliefs and negative self-talk actually is, and it gives you an opportunity to change it. So talking to yourself in an encouraging way is not crazy or insane or a problem. It's actually very, very helpful and very important to do. Okay, so this is you helping yourself. This is you knowing yourself, like that wise man in the story. This is you doing something to change the state that you find yourself in from time to time of being negative. So the other reason that it's important to externalize this talk is because when we are just having that kind of inner dialogue going on, a lot of times, most of the time, 99% of the time, it just goes unchecked. It just goes on, and before we know it, we are wandering around, just feeling bad about ourselves and trying to hide it so that others don't see it. And that's a lot of work and takes a lot of energy. Whereas if you can cop to the fact that, whoa, I've discovered this negative self-talk about myself. I've discovered this way in which I'm keeping myself limited from living my best life and living my purpose by this constant inner criticism. Now I see it, and now I can do something about it, right? It's like having a stone in your shoe. If you're hiking, you're like, man, what is that pain? And finally you're like, wait a minute, let me take off this shoe and take a look. You go out there, you fish out a pebble, and like, man, get that out of here. And then you can go on your way and be, have a good journey. Same thing with this negative self-talk. If there's this kind of undercurrent of self-criticism and judgment, it really hampers your journey. Because one of the biggest things here on your inner journey, your personal development journey, searching for your genius qualities and being able to express them, you have to learn to be your own best friend. You have to be able to give yourself not just positive self-talk, but something that I call positive, unconditional positive self-regard, where you realize I'm doing something very, very difficult here. I am like doing the ultimate journey here. I am trying to know myself and live my purpose. Okay, that's about as high as it gets. Okay, and when you realize that's the journey that I'm on, that's what I'm doing with my life, you must become a friend to yourself, because you can't guarantee that others are going to befriend you in this way. So this is a skill that's just really, really important. And one of the aspects of that skill of being that friend to yourself is to, cultivate this ability to recognize this inner dialogue and speak to yourself in an encouraging and purposeful way. So that's like it's a very, very advanced skill to be able to do that. It takes a lot of awareness, a lot of looking, a lot of paying attention, and but you can do it. It's important to do it. It's you will never be able to step into your true genius identity while consistently and constantly criticizing yourself. Okay, it's not going to happen. So we're going to take a short commercial break, and on the other side, I am going to walk you through a guided journey to help you have this positive and encouraging shift to your inner dialogue. So I'll see you on the other side. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I'm finishing up my new course, the Genius Way Process course. This course is for anyone who wants to discover what's in their genius, their inborn gifts, their talents, and their callings. In this course, I'm going to provide you with the 10 life skills that we all need to access our individual genius and to make it a part of our everyday life. If you'd like to know more about the Genius Way Process course and when it's available, go to thegeniusway.com and sign up to get notified. I can't wait to share this with you. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in, and then deeply exhale. For now, I'd like you to tune into your inner world, into the level of your inner dialogue. This is the ongoing inner self-talk that goes on each day, just below the conscious level of your awareness. For this exercise, you will be able to access this level and to hear this dialogue very clearly. Now listen for any dialogue about yourself or your life that is negative or critical in tone or quality, and pull out one negative sentence from that dialogue. What is that sentence? Are you surprised to see this self-critical talk? Or have you been aware of it already? How true or false does this negative and critical self-talk feel to you? Now I want you to take that sentence and flip it into something positive and encouraging. If it helps, imagine saying this encouraging sentence to your best friend. What is the new positive and encouraging sentence? How does it feel to be the beneficiary of this kindness and encouragement? I want you to remember that you can shift any negative dialogue into a positive one in this way. Remember that you can practice this technique and get better and better at it each day. And now, with this experience fully intact in your awareness, and when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into this room. So there's one thing for sure. If you look within and you find on closer inspection that you're having these kind of negative dialogues about yourself, critical, judgmental, non-supportive, one thing you can be sure of is that you have been practicing that and you've gotten really good at it. Okay? You have been practicing it. And one thing we know is that the more we do something, the better we get at it and the stronger that practice gets. So, you can look at your life as literally a practice. That's why, there's things kind of like a spiritual practice or a meditation practice or a behavioral, behavioral therapy practice in terms of like practicing new skills. That's why there are those things, is because, life consists of the things that we do over and over and over again. And we kind of coalesce around these practices and call them ourselves. But the practices can be changed. I know we don't see bad habits as practices, but they really are. A practice is something that you do over and over and over and over again, right? So looking within, finding whatever the dialogue is, if it's negative and you see, I've been practicing that, walking by a mirror or, being critical of myself. And, you got to develop a different practice. That's the whole point, is like, what else can I practice that's actually helpful to me, right? And one way to really know whether your self-talk is going to be helpful is to recognize, if this was my friend, if this was my best friend, how would I talk to them? How would I talk to them? So if my best friend came to me and said, I feel like a fat pig, I ate a whole pizza last night, and I've got the grease still all over my face and I'm a failure, I'm a terrible person, blah, blah, blah. I would not say, yeah, you're right, you're definitely that. No, there's no way I would say that. I'd be like, okay, so you did that last night. What's that pattern? I do this with my clients all the time. Every client is my best friend in terms of that. I want to see the best for them, and I want them to practice these really great habits and being supportive of themselves and encouraging. So I give them that. I wouldn't dare give them something else. So the question is, why do we give that to ourselves? One of the reasons is because it's in silence. Nobody can see us criticizing ourselves or keeping us in a really small place or judging ourselves and practicing that judgment against ourselves. Nobody can see it. But if you externalize that dialogue and you say it out loud, you're going to be less likely to continue that practice of judgment and criticism and negativity against yourself. when you hear yourself saying, hey, come on, you got this. Like literally, one of the things I practice every day is to say, hey, Ben, do your best today. Right? Very simple. And I reply, yes, I will. I will do my best. And that little bit of self-encouragement really, really helps me to move into my day and remember that. Instead of inevitably seeing how I failed at something or didn't do something well or some negative aspect of my daily experience, right? Just that little boost of like, hey, you can do this. You've got this. Let's go. You know what your goals are. You know your good qualities. So let's exhibit those things, And so we can do this for ourselves. We can be that advocate for ourselves. And again, the little trick is externalize it. Now, you might not want to externalize it walking down the street in Manhattan. Manhattan, nobody would think twice. But I mean, at work, you're not going to want to do this out loud necessarily. But when you're by yourself, when you have a private time that you can, have undisturbed practice of encouraging self-talk, it makes a huge difference. If you can be your own best friend and share with yourself that encouragement that you would give to a friend, right? That makes all the difference. And that's a huge, huge tool. And it's just like a really beautiful way to kind of move along your personal development path. All right. So let's take a short break for a commercial. And on the other side, some more words of encouragement to send you on your way this week.
Ben Hummell's writing comes from a deep well of experience, practice, and wisdom. The Genius Way teaches you the life skills you need to find your own unique genius. Summoning Genius helps readers to turn a midlife crisis into an opportunity for personal growth. You can find Ben's books on thegeniusway.com, Amazon, and most online booksellers.
With only a little digging, we can all discover that we're all having an inner dialogue with ourselves, and that most of the time, the dialogue is critical, negative, or judgmental. A great psychological tool is to externalize this inner dialogue and change it to a positive and encouraging one. The idea is to speak to ourselves as we would speak to our best friend, giving them support, encouragement, and kindness to help them to be the best version of themselves. And that's our show for this week. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed myself here with you as well. And so here is your weekly self-inquiry journal prompt. How would I encourage my friend if they had the same problem that I have? Okay, once again, how would I encourage my friend if they had the same problem that I have? All right. So until next week, guys, I want to encourage you to remain curious, be kind to yourself, and remember, your genius has something to say.
Thanks for watching The Genius Way Show with Ben Hummell. Make sure to visit thegeniusway.com for the resources you need to help you on your personal life journey. You can contact Ben at ben@thegeniusway.com. And you can follow The Genius Way with Ben Hummell on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for streaming The Genius Way Show with Ben Hummell.